Who should you be pulling for in Honkai Star Rail 2.4? Always a tough question. Maybe you want an extra opinion or a better understanding of the characters and what they can be used for, or what they call a meta perspective, then this video is going to help you. If you haven't seen the live stream, the 4 5-star characters are Yunli and Huohuo on the first half, then Jiaoqiu and Sparkle on the second half. All of them fit in different roles, so perhaps if you need someone to fit that role for you, you can quite easily decide. Like if you want an extra damage dealer, you get Yunli. If you want a healer, you get Huohuo. If you want a debuffer, you get Jiaoqiu. And if you want a strong harmony support, you get Sparkle. But if you want to get more into detail, we can do that too. Let's start with Yunli. You know that Daniel and Cooler Daniel meme? That's basically Clara and Yunli. Yunli is quite literally Clara but better. They have the exact same path, the exact same element, and they do the exact same thing, counter-attacking enemies when they get hit. The difference is that Yunli has some fixes to the kit that Clara doesn't. Clara can't taunt, while Yunli can. If the enemies are delayed or CC'd and won't attack you, Yunli will still perform her ultimate counter on an ally's turn. Yunli's boosted counter from her ultimate is counted as ultimate damage, while Clara's isn't, meaning she can be boosted by more buffs than Clara. She even has a double energy bar like Argenti. You can more precisely control or use her ultimate instead of just using it immediately when it's up or risk wasting energy, which is why she's literally cooler Clara. However, in terms of usage, just like Clara, Yunli gets better in harder stages because a lot of their damage comes from counter-attacking. Only the harder stages have enemies that attack multiple times in a row or have insanely high speed, which obviously means even more counters for both Yunli and Clara. Conversely, they are not great against very weak enemies like in the open world or something, but they are very weak, so you can beat them with just about anything. You might just take slightly longer, like a minor inconvenience. Obviously, people are still able to clear hard content with Clara, Memory of Chaos and whatever. I don't know because I still don't own her, but you can very easily look up Clara clears for Memory of Chaos and so on. If you already own Clara and she's quite well built, there is obviously less incentive for you to pull Yunli, but I am still of the opinion that Yunli will be much better to play not only because of her extra QOL features, but also because of her higher damage. So if you're maybe struggling with Apocalyptic Shadow, Yunli will definitely carry you through the appropriate stages because of how many times these bosses can attack you. Next we have Huohuo. In terms of healing, she's pretty good, but she can be quite skill point intensive. This gets a lot better at E1, but at E0 you need to refresh a heal every 2 turns, which means she requires a lot more skill points than the other abundance characters already, because they sometimes don't even use a skill point like Lord Sharp. The exchange for your skill points is that she can cleanse multiple debuffs very quickly and can even regenerate your energy and give your team an attack boost, which is very useful for certain characters like Jingyuan, Argenti, or even Robin and Kafka. The extremely quick debuff cleanse, energy regeneration, and attack boost is what gives Huohuo the edge over other current abundance characters, because the rest of them mostly just heal and cleanse debuffs but at a slower rate. Like I said earlier, the real downside is that you have to constantly use skill points to heal your team because her automatic healing isn't usually enough in very tough stages. So if you're struggling against enemies with lots of debuffs or you have hyper carries that are quite dependent on your ultimate, Huohuo will be a great pickup for you. Next we have Jiaoqiu, who is a nihility unit, meaning he provides utility to the team in the form of debuffing enemies. Instead of reducing defense like Pella, Jiaoqiu gives enemies vulnerability, which will help you deal quite a lot more damage. The downside is that you have to stack it up instead of instantly applying the maximum debuff like Pella, and a part of his vulnerability is ultimate vulnerability, meaning it will only affect ultimate damage. Right now we don't have a ton of units that are incredibly dependent on their ultimate damage. They usually just use their ultimate to do other things instead of relying purely on its damage like Jingyuan's Lightning Lord and stuff like that, which is why Jiaoqiu can be seen as a bit niche currently. The 2 units we currently have that are extremely dependent on ultimate damage is Acheron and Argenti. Hence, if you have these 2 characters, you can definitely consider pulling Jiaoqiu. especially so for Acheron, because Xiaoqiu will help you apply debuffs pretty quickly. In fact, Xiaoqiu can be up to a 70% damage boost over Pella in Acheron teams. However, his main issue is that he's only really a huge increase over Pella in ultimate dependent teams. So in other teams where Pella is great, like Jingliu teams and so on, Xiaoqiu isn't a huge upgrade over Pella and probably will not be worth your pulls if you're free to play or you want to save some pulls. And so thinking from a free to play or casual player's meta perspective, I can only recommend pulling for Xiaoqiu if you want a stronger Acheron team. Like for Argenti, he's very dependent on his ultimate, but it's quite hard to replace the units on his team because Tingyun and Huohuo can regenerate energy, which he really needs. And so the last slot, you would have to compete with maybe Bronya or Sparkle. And if you already have them, there isn't much point to pulling Xiaoqiu for your Argenti team. Speaking of Sparkle, I always say Harmony units are one of the strongest units in the game, and Sparkle is a great example of that. She makes all your skill point issues go away and also allows your hyper carry to run more offensive options like attack boots instead of speed boots, because she can act as your speed gauge by dragging your carry along. Not only that, she gives you a crazy amount of crit damage, pretty good attack and damage boost as well. She's a very solid unit all around and can be used in quite a lot of teams even if they don't need the extra skill points. Which is why Sparkle can be a great pull for you, because chances are you have a damage carry that can be used with Sparkle. I think the question is what team Sparkle cannot be used in, and that's probably DOT and break teams, but you could argue that for literally any other team, you can use Sparkle. That's pretty much it for this mini guide, so if you'd like me to do some other guides or whatever, if some other questions, do let me know in the comments, and if you'd like to support the channel, do like the video and subscribe to the channel. Thanks for watching.